Hey y'all, just as a warning, this is gonna get crazy nerdy. I had a weird urge to talk about the entire Skywalker Saga today for whatever reason. The idea is simple. I go through each trilogy and I give my thoughts on the set as a whole. Now, if you're looking for a video that goes buck wild bashing one trilogy or another, this probably ain't the video for you, friendo. I'm going to give the pro and then I'll give the con. And regardless of my opinion, I'm going to try my darndest to be civil. We're Star Wars fans, let's pretend we liked the thing, you know?
The Prequels. Pro.
While a lot of people didn't enjoy the overarching political themes of the prequels, I always thought they were really interesting. In order to see the bleak, authoritarian regime of the Empire, it's really poignant that we see that it got its roots in a really familiar setting. The Senate, just politics in general. Fascism is always a breath away, and it's only by being constantly vigilant that we can keep it at bay. That's an intense message for what many could argue are essentially kids' movies. I've already done a whole video on the Clone Wars, both of them, so I'll skip that, but did you know that the prequel era was also the set piece for my favorite video game? Republic Commando has always and will almost assuredly always be my all-time favorite Star Wars game. Yes, even with the Kashyyyk level at the end, I've learned to forgive. And I wouldn't have it without the prequel trilogy.
Cons.
A lot of people rag on the writing, and truth be told, it's pretty well placed. George Lucas is a world builder, an idea man, but he's definitely not a writer. There were numerous stories from Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill about how they would approach Lucas and say that they just could not make a line sound natural, because it wasn't written naturally. The actors had more pull back then because George Lucas was an up-and-comer. Yeah, he had a few amazingly successful projects, but he was still finding his spot. The people around him could get away with telling him no. But for the prequels, he was the George Lucas, the Star Wars guy. No one could tell him no. No one could question him. And he was able to just fully creatively steamroll in whatever way he wanted to go. Am I saying George Lucas was a bad guy? No. I'm saying he didn't have access to constructive criticism, and you need constructive criticism to make any artwork work. So we have a trilogy-long general story that really works. He knew where he wanted his story to go and the major plot beats, he just didn't know how to settle down and focus on every detail in the micro scale to make those work, and because of that his characters fall kind of flat.
Original Trilogy. Pro.
Well, let's see, it's 2020 and I'm making a video about the saga when the original Star Wars premiered in 1977, so they clearly did something right. So let's get into it. First off, the effects were staggering. John Williams breathed so much life into the scenes with his music, and our heroes were charming and became our pals through the movies. There was so much, well, hope. A farm boy took on a galactic empire and won. If he can do that, what can I do? What's more, Star Wars demonstrated a great combination of genres called slipstream, where you have multiple genres interacting with each other. So Star Wars is a fantasy, but also a western, and also a war movie, and they interact in genius ways that make it so that you're never bored with what's going on. And that's a huge reason that the series has lasted as long as it has. Oh, you're bored of the fantasy stuff? Okay, let's focus on the war movie stuff. Oh, you're bored of the war movie stuff? Well, let's do a western.
Con.
Okay, guys, I'm about to spit a few hot takes, and I really hope you can bear with me. The original movies weren't nearly as perfect as we've made them out to be. There, I said it. Over the decades, the movies have become almost religiously revered, but as far as attention to detail goes, there was practically none. Pronunciations of planets and characters varied from person to person. Leia always knew that Luke was her brother, and it turned her on all the way. As far as the future of the series, they didn't really know how to set things up because they didn't really know where things would go. There's actually a proto-sequel called Splinter of the Mind's Eye that got converted into a book where you see where they originally wanted to go with the sequel, and let's just say things are pretty different with how Luke and Leia, interacted.
He happened to glance down at his companion's face. It was not the face of a princess and a senator, or of a leader of the Rebel Alliance, but instead that of a chilled child. I think that is supposed to be a sexy description. Moistly parted in sleep, her lips seemed to beckon to him. He leaned closer, seeking refuge from the damp green and brown of the swamp in that hypnotic redness. He hesitated. Pulled back. Oh, thank God.
But am I saying they're bad movies? No, of course not. I wouldn't be here if they were. I'm just saying we as a fan base need to calm down and ease up a bit. And just enjoy these movies for what they are. Fun. Blockbuster, swashbuckling romps in space.
Sequel Trilogy. Pro.
Visually, these movies are what I'm sure a lot of the fanbase was hoping we would have got with the prequels. The same ingenious practical effects with some modern day touches, namely with the starfighters and war scenes, maybe an alien or two. And as far as characters go, Kylo Ren was incredibly compelling. He drove a lot of the trilogy for me. And say what you will about Rey, but I think Daisy Ridley put a lot of charm on the character, and I did enjoy whenever she was on screen. She is a phenomenal actress. And BB-8 hit me in all the right cue buttons. That little thing purred like a cat, and that was enough for me. Finn and Poe had a really natural bromance that I wish would have been explored more, because I got JD and Turk vibes, but in space. Hux was okay.
Cons.
It's a f***ing mess.